Abraham Lincoln has been depicted in movies and TV shows over 120 times starting in the year 1908. Whether these are more dramatic retellings like Daniel Day-Lewis's movie, Lincoln, or more fantastical tales like 2012's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, there is no doubt that the former president is part of our national identity. Despite him serving in office for only 4 years over 150 years ago, he is still considered one of the greatest leaders in the United States and world history. And today, I'm going to submit my vote as to why that is. Hello scholars, I'm Captain Daniel Johnston, an officer in the United States Air Force. I founded Wiggin Academy to share important leadership principles with as many people as possible by connecting these principles to stories. My message is that being a leader is not only for those who have a job where they manage people. All of us are leaders in some capacity, whether that's at work, home, church, sports, clubs, or really any situation where you are responsible for others. The principles that I've chosen to share with you are those which I have seen make an impact during my career. Today's principle is going to be how to give constructive feedback. First, let's talk about what constructive feedback means. Feedback is an important part of a leader's responsibility to their people. At its core, feedback is simply when a leader reviews the performance of those who report to them. This is so important because as a boss, it gives you a chance to reaffirm your expectations, and it gives your people a chance to understand if they are meeting those expectations or not. In many situations where feedback does not occur, it is common to find leaders who are frustrated, assuming their people are lazy or stupid, and employees going about their work completely ignorant that anything is wrong. Making feedback constructive is an important part of the process. After a feedback session, your people should be informed about what they are supposed to be doing and motivated to meet your expectations. Feedback should be direct, actionable, and encouraging. For feedback to be constructive, you should avoid using vague platitudes or unnecessarily harsh critiques. Anyone can tear people down. It's a leader's responsibility to build people up. The Battle of Gettysburg was one of the central conflicts in the United States Civil War and is famous for being one of the most significant and bloodiest battles in our young country's history. Over 50,000 Americans died the day Major General General Meade, the newly appointed commander of the Army of the Potomac, led Union troops to this important triumph, halting the rebels' march into the North. This battle is best known as the turning point of the Civil War, giving the Union much-needed momentum to obtain an eventual victory. What is less well known is that the Battle of Gettysburg was also a lost opportunity for the North to end the war outright. During his retreat, General Lee and the Confederate Army found themselves unable to cross the Potomac River due to a storm that had caused the waterway to swell. In other words, the Confederates were trapped. President Lincoln commanded General Meade several times to overtake the Confederates and deliver the blow that could end the war. For one reason or another, General Meade stalled, eventually allowing the Southern Army to cross the river and prolong the country's turmoil. When General Meade failed to seize this chance, President Lincoln was understandably furious. To have a brilliant strategist like General Robert E. Lee, who many considered one of the greatest military minds of his time, nearby and at a complete disadvantage was not an opportunity the Union forces were likely to have again. President Lincoln understood that the cost of this failure would be the loss of more soldiers' lives. He immediately set out to remind General Meade of the impact of this blunder to his country in a letter which I will now read an excerpt from. Again, my dear General, I do not believe you appreciate the magnitude of the misfortune involved in Lee's escape. He was within your easy grasp, and to have closed upon him would, in connection with our other late successes, have ended the war. As it is, the war will be prolonged indefinitely. If you could not safely attack Lee last Monday, how can you possibly do so south of the river, when you can take with you very few, no more than 2/3 of the force you then had in hand? It would be unreasonable to expect, and I do not expect that you can now effect much. Your golden opportunity is gone, and I am distressed immeasurably because of it. After writing this letter, President Lincoln utilized one of his famous leadership practices. He filed the letter away and waited before sending it to determine if this was needed feedback or if he was simply upset. Upon re-examining the letter, President Lincoln realized that if he sent it, he would lose General Meade to anger and resentment. It was his responsibility as a leader to maintain his composure and do what was best for the country, and General Meade was still needed to win this war. That is why this document never made it to General Meade, and was found buried among President Lincoln's papers in his desk drawer after his death. As for General Meade, he served in his position for another 8 months until he was replaced by a more aggressive commander named Ulysses S. Grant. Yes, that Ulysses S. Grant. We don't know exactly what President Lincoln's feedback to General Meade was, but we do know it was done in such a gracious manner that after his demotion, General Meade willingly served under General Grant, a man who used to report to him. Under General Grant's leadership, General Meade was instrumental in pivotal campaigns that helped secure victory for the Union. The smoothness of General Meade's transition was a testament to both General Meade's humility and President Lincoln's skill as a leader. President Lincoln understood that those with influence must use feedback wisely to help their organization improve and not to satisfy their own frustrations. So that's great that Abraham Lincoln was able to master how and when to provide feedback to his people, but what does that mean for you? I want you to think to any situation where you're responsible for or in charge of anyone. Are they meeting your every expectation? If not, how should you go about letting them know? Lincoln taught us to use feedback as a tool to help your organization rather than to simply vent your frustrations. But what should your feedback be? As an officer, I'm required to provide feedback to those who report to me on a regular basis. So I personally find the best way to offer constructive feedback is to first get a sense of how the person you're offering feedback to feels they are doing and work from there. One way to do this is to ask your people to explain their responsibilities to you and then ask them how they feel they are performing these responsibilities. This will give you an opportunity to praise them for the things they are doing well, while also correcting any misconceptions or shortcomings they might have. With anything that you say during feedback, remember President Lincoln's lesson and ask yourself, am I saying this to help this person and my organization overall to improve, or am I saying this to make me feel better? As you are able to better supply clear and constructive feedback to your people, you will be shocked at how quickly they respond. All right, scholars, that's our lesson for today. Now the rest is up to you. I'm going to ask you a few questions and I want you to really think about them before answering. When did you last specifically set aside time for a feedback session with any of your people? Do you actually provide feedback for those who fall short of your expectations, or do you just criticize them? What's the difference between the two? If you provide feedback, is it only for those who are messing up, or do you also provide feedback for those who are doing well? And finally, how does your feedback improve the performance of individuals and the culture of your organization? I know these lessons are easy to talk about, but difficult to put into practice. But I promise you, as you put in the effort to improve your leadership, you will see the benefits in both your organization and your personal life. All right, till next time, keep on learning. Thank you so much for watching. Much of what I go over in my lessons can be found in my book, Mission First, People Always. You can find it for purchase through the Amazon link on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, you will find our links to the Wiggin Leadership Academy social media pages, where we post regularly. If you enjoyed today's video and want more leadership lessons, then please help us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.